Welcome to week 2. We're still figuring stuff out. I'd like to welcome you to the 5,352nd meeting of the Rotary Club of San Jose. I am still your president, Sal Pizarro. And I'd like to thank the foundation board for greeting everyone out in the lobby today. And of course, as you were coming in, you might have noticed we had a wonderful slideshow of our deck work at the Gordon House. You'll be hearing a little bit more about that later. And we're thrilled to have party helpers back with a buffet this week, and we're going to see if we can keep that going. If we can keep our lunch numbers up, that's something we can continue. So at this time, we're going to introduce our visiting Rotarians and other guests. And so could we have our 2 red badgers with the traveling microphones introduce themselves, one of which is only going to be a red badger for a few more minutes. Barbara, why don't you start?
Yes. That's me, the aging out red badger. Barbara Marshman, retired editorial page editor at the Mercury News. Elizabeth Monley was my sponsor a year ago, and I'm here to introduce visitors.
Hi, everybody. My name is Octavia Derby, CEO, founder of Octavia Kitchen. My sponsor is Tom Linton.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you both. And so if visiting Rotarians and guests could please stand, and we'll get you all introduced.
I have one right here.
Hi, President Sal, Gary Giannini. It's my pleasure to introduce Holly Elkins, the president of Presentation High School.
Holly, great to see you again. Thanks for coming.
Yes, good afternoon, President Sal, Tim Gill, and we have some visitors from Tanzania, and want to introduce them. We've got Shadrach. Shirley Foreman is not from Tanzania, but she's from the Bay Area, and Winston, and they just want to maybe 30 seconds just tell a little bit about themselves.
Sure.
Thank you. My name is Shadrach. As I have been introduced, I'm from Tanzania. I am Friendship Force member. I just visited San Francisco, and I'm being hosted by my host, Charlie, here. But it was a pleasure to meet you guys here, and I'm just learning about the lottery now firsthand. I'm not a member, but I'm getting used to know about it, and I think it is perfect organization, because in Tanzania there are some societies which are living in such extreme, poverty, and they need a critical help. So I think it is nice, and thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you for coming.
President Sal.
Wait, we've got a couple more.
I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Shirley Foreman. I'm president of our San Francisco Bay Area Friendship Force Club. Our motto is, "A world of friends is a world of peace." And I'm proud to host Shadrach and Winston this week in my home.
Thank you for coming, Shirley.
Good afternoon. I'm Rotarian Winston Ndegela from Rotary Club of Iringa, which is in District 9214. And I have served as a president of that club for 3 years, and also I have served as assistant governor for 2 terms. I would wish to cooperate with you in some projects if you will be willing to implement in Tanzania. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Tim, for bringing them. Steve.
President Sal, Steve Borkenhagen, classification has been. My guest today is my friend Linda Zavoral, one of your colleagues at the Mercury News. She's been writing for the Merc for years and is a great jazz fan, so she and I have a lot in common.
Thrilled to have you here as always, Linda.
Hey, President Sal, Carl Salas, engineering. Hey, your Youth Exchange Committee is fired right back up. We have our outbound going out to Hungary. You're going to meet him later. His name is Zachary Lyon. And we just notified yesterday our inbound is coming from Spain in a couple of weeks.
Great. Thrilled to hear it. Thank you.
Hi, President Sal, Larry Stone, County Assessor. I'd like to introduce my spouse,
Yay.
Carmen. Never fails, never fails.
Always thrilling to have you here, Carmen.
Hello, fellow Rotarians. I am Maddie Scary, and I'm the director of the Poppy Jasper International Film Festival that's in Morgan Hill, Gilroy, Hollister, and San Juan Bautista. And I'm happy to have my guest here, Brian Goldenberg, who is my sponsor chair. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
President Sal, Scott Knies, Association's Professional Trade. I have two guests. Omar Torres, Business Resiliency Manager at the San Jose Downtown Association and also candidate for District 3 City Council seat. And Autumn Young, the Deputy County Assessor, and I am also her husband.
Great to have you both. Thank you.
All right, my name is Rain Liu. I'm from Cupertino Rotary. I've been to 4 or 5 Rotary clubs in the Bay Area. This is the most glamorous place. The most people, the puppy in the room. John just showed me the professional audio video settings. The only thing is I'm still waiting for the leftover from the lunch. Thank you.
You tell Steve and Hung Wei that we're thrilled to have you here. We're
Thank
happy
you.
to come anytime. So
Thank you all.
President Sal, I'm very sorry that I forgot to introduce my confidential secretary, Lori Lamley.
That's how confidential she was.
Hello, Sal. Heather Lerner with Boy Scouts. I'm so glad to see that the buffet has returned, but even more excited to show you that a few of my guests have returned. I've got Alan Williams from Oracle. I've got Suzanne Wolf. I think her official title is like Big Mucky Muck, City of Fremont. I think it's on our business card. And I have my friend Margaret Tamasia, who is a social responsibility consultant with many, many companies. You've all probably worked with her. Please welcome my guests.
Great. Wonderful to have all three of you here.
President Sal, Alden Danner, Senior Active, and I'm very pleased to introduce my guest today, Mark Burke. He's an old-time, long-time friend and neighbor and a retired healthcare executive.
Great. Thank you for coming, Mark. Great to have you here.
Hello, President Sal. Sarah Klisch, Financial Services, and I'm very pleased to introduce for, I believe, his second visit. Is that correct? Sharad Gupta. He runs a real estate brokerage firm here in Santa Clara. Welcome.
Welcome indeed. Okay, I think that's it for introductions. So we are going to move on to a new member introduction. Yay! So let's ask Ron Drake and Rachel Barclay to come up here so we can introduce our newest member.
Thank you, Mr. President. I keep printing these things larger and larger, but I still need glasses. The Rotary Club in San Jose and the Silicon Valley Capital Club have had a long, mutually beneficial relationship, and we're pleased to continue that relationship by welcoming the Capital Club's newest GM, Rachel Barclay. New Jersey born, longtime Philadelphia resident, and a new downtown San Jose resident. Rachel is a 15-year hospitality leader and operator who joined the Capital Club team as the general manager in April. Prior to joining the Capital Club, she was the GM of the Pyramid Club in Philadelphia, which is another Club Corps club. Now Club Corps is, what is it? Invited. They're rebranding, so don't be surprised. Same great service, same great people. She guided that operation through the pandemic, which we all know is challenging. She was also a member of the Rotary Club of Philadelphia, which met at her club. Rachel enjoys learning about spirits and wine. It's part of the job, after all, with a particular interest in craft cocktails. Both my liver and I can attest to her prowess as a mixologist. In June 2021, Rachel had her first daughter, Luna, and her time away from the club enjoys exploring her new home in the Bay Area with her partner, Elizar, and fellow Rotarians. Please welcome Rachel Barclay.
Thank you. Well, I think he did my job for me, so thank you very much. As you can see by my proximity to the microphone, I'm very tall. So yeah, new to the Bay Area and by my human demonstration. I'm very happy to be here, very happy to partner with Rotary and the Capital Club. Identified very quickly that there was a long-term time history with Rotary and the Capital Club. So whatever I can do to help best position as a community partner, I look forward to that. As Ron mentioned, I have 15 years in hospitality, and I think to be successful in this industry, you have to have a servant's heart. So I look forward to sort of growing my own leadership with the club, myself professionally and personally as well. So I look forward to getting to know everybody better, and thank you very much for the warm welcome.
Okay, now we're going to take a photo over here.
Can I stand down here?
I knew this would get some laughs at least.
That's not going to get old at all this year. Okay, so next up, so we just introduced a new red badger. Now we are going to bring up some new blue badgers. If I could have Barbara Marshman and Pat Lucas come up, and I don't think Joanna is here, but if she is, she can come up. She's got a baby still at home. We will get her her blue badge at a later time. So all you red badgers, remember, you too can become a blue badge. You just have to stick around for a year and do work and join committees and be an engaged member of this club. Okay, next we are going to hear from our youth exchange student. The slide says Carl Salas, but playing Carl Salas today is Pam Foley. It's a difficult job. None of us can.
Yes, it is. President Sal, fellow Rotarians, and Zooming Rotarians, it's so good to see you all. It's really exciting for me to make this introduction because 10 years ago, right now, my daughter was heading out to France for her study abroad exchange in France. This is a wonderful opportunity. It's so exciting that we're able to bring youth exchange back. Pandemic was rough on these kids and it's rough on us, but we need to continue to create goodwill by spreading the goodness of the United States and who we are and be ambassadors in our country and also absorb what other countries have to teach us. So with that, I'm really proud to introduce you to Zachary Lyon. He is our outbound exchange student, and he's going to tell you a little bit about himself and where he's going and why.
Thank you. As you know, I am Zachary Lyon, and this year I graduated from Branham High School, so I'm about 18 years old now. And I will be going to Hungary for this exchange year. Why I chose Hungary? Because it's not a very common country for people to choose. Usually they pick France, Italy, Spain. I chose Hungary just because of how unique of a country it is. People don't really think of Hungary much outside of what they might see on the news. And I want to really learn about their culture, and the only way you could really do that is by living there. And so that is why I want to go to Hungary, to experience this very unique culture and extremely difficult language. I've been learning the language for a year, and I still have the level of a third grader. And yeah, and specifically in Hungary, I'll be going to the city of Debrecen if anybody was interested about that. But I would very much like to thank Rotary for the opportunity to give me to do this. This has basically been my dream since around 6th grade, so thank you very much.
You should all know that Zachary has been waiting patiently with us for a couple of years. He was actually selected as our study abroad student a couple of years ago, and then we all know what happened, and he's still here, and now we're ready to send him out. And we wish you well. Come back, tell us your great stories and all the life-changing experiences you've had. Thank you. Oh, one final pitch. Youth Exchange is always looking for committee members, and I wouldn't be doing Carl Salas justice if I didn't throw it out there and say anyone who's willing or interested in participating on the Youth Exchange, it's not a heavy lift, but it is tremendously impactful and positive. So let us know if you want to get involved. Thank you.
Two years. You had more time to learn Hungarian. There's no problem with that. Okay, so moving on. The Unhoused Impact Committee, one of our great, relatively new committees that's been doing some good work in our community. On July 23rd, as you can see up here, we are assembling hygiene kits. That's this Saturday, 8:30 a.m. at Block Construction. Mike Block's been very generous with his space over the years and continues to do that. They need volunteers, so if you can participate this weekend, please contact Sarah Janigan about that. This information will also be in the bulletin, so we need people to come out. Speaking of good works, we also are getting closer to having a new deck at the Gordon House. A bunch of us were out there last Saturday doing some work. Showing you some pictures here with Habitat for Humanity. It was a lot of fun. Some of us were painting, some of us were drilling holes, some of us were eating donuts. Adolfo from Mezcal brought out some wonderful lunch for everyone. You can see there we are as a group. It looks actually, that picture was taken pretty early. We're standing on the part of the deck that's been completed. We did a little bit more after that, but the work is not yet done. And Jennifer Simmons tells me we need more volunteers for this Saturday. So you've got your choice of hygiene kits or help with the deck. A lot of us in this room, you know what they say about many hands making light work. 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. You'll be working on the deck. Again, this will probably be in the bulletin. Contact Jennifer. There may still be flyers on the tables from last week. It's pretty much the same situation. I was out there this past week. It's not terribly strenuous or taxing work because we're all working together. So I hope that you can participate in one of these volunteer opportunities this weekend. If you're really kind of crazy, you might end up doing both, but I don't expect that, okay? It's like hygiene kits in the morning and then afternoon building a deck. So, and finally, we don't just work, we have fun. Our golf committee was out last week at Almaden enjoying the sunshine and some fellowship. You can see some pictures here provided to us by Dominic. So this is just another example of us letting the good times roll and hopefully getting together more and more with our committees. And let's see, and Doug Smith's on his way up here. As he's getting up here, let me ask a question. Anyone here having a birthday today? I might be aware of a couple of them. So in fact, I think at least 3. We have Sandra Gill. We have Judge Arthur Weisbrot, who's trying not to look at me. And we have President-elect Karen Philbrick. So happy birthday to all of you. We're not going to sing, not this time, but happy birthday to all of you, and thank you for spending your special day here with us. And now, Doug, tell us about Firesides.
All right, so the Firesides are coming up the week of August 21st. Again, this is a great time for everybody to socialize, get together. I mean, to be honest, these volunteer projects, like the deck building and all, it's almost like a fireside. Those are so much fun. So I don't know why I'm competing with myself, but nonetheless, this is another relaxing time. It's great. So we have right now, we're going to have the Fun and Friendship will do their own fireside at the Gordon House. We have Michelle O'Kane, who's going to do host a fireside. We have Matt Robin, who's going to do one up at his ranch. So we have about 3 more nights. We're targeting for the week of August 21st. But if you want to do it and that week is not good for you, we're flexible within plus or minus a week. Again, this is just a great way to socialize, to extend, and basically this is an extended family, right? So we're just getting together, enjoying ourselves, getting to know each other on a more personal basis. And so I put a sheet on everybody's table. Please look at that, and please think about opening up your house. It can be your house, it can be your business, it can be as few people or as many people as you like. But please contact me to get yourself set up, and if you need help hosting the party, the Fun and Friendship Committee will help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And I honestly, I can't emphasize enough that firesides were a really fun part of this club for a lot of years, and they fell by the wayside during COVID. And we really want to get this program back and up and running so that we can just have some social time together and not. It doesn't all have to be about work and building decks, right? It will, part of it is, but not all of it. Okay. So we're actually a couple of minutes ahead of time, but we've got a couple of talkers coming up. So I would like to bring up Larry Stone. Yeah, might as well do one more. Who will be interviewing this week's featured speaker, Scott Knies. So Larry, if you want to come up and you want to do any sort of introduction or? No. Okay. You guys know Larry, you guys know Scott. They'll tell you why you're here.
All right. Oops. Got it under control back there? All right. Well, let's get right to it. In the mid-1980s, you were instrumental in starting the San Jose Downtown Association, a placemaking organization to be sure. And you are the first and only director since it was formalized in 1988. During the evolution of the Downtown Association, you were leading the Fencing Center, a small business that you co-founded in 1982, while working as the manager for the Alum Rock Business Association. You were hired by the Downtown Association in 1988, and now after 34 years, you are stepping down. The efforts of the Downtown Association are not always visible. Sometimes the work is meant to be invisible. For example, the 330,000 pounds of trash removed and 22,000 pieces of graffiti abated, or the utility doors that disappear when the artwork by local high school students appear. So how is the organization funded? And what are the major services that the Downtown Association provides? And what would downtown and the greater San Jose community miss if the Downtown Association wasn't there?
A lot of questions to start off with there. I'm glad you began with the bags of trash. When we started the association, I had no idea that my job would ultimately be as a glorified janitor. But I can't emphasize enough, especially in today's climate, how important it is to keep the center city clean and safe. When we survey our members now, that is by far and away the #1 concern. You asked about the funding. One of the first things we did, this is kind of going back to the 1980s. Are you guys hearing a little bit of feedback here? Okay. And the redevelopment agency kind of controlled everything downtown. It was like Frank Taylor was in charge. When you went to see Frank, it was like going to see the wizard. And at the time, redevelopment wanted to do everything downtown. They didn't want any help. But with all of the work that was going on in the downtown, and we had the fencing center, by the way, is still in operation. 36 years later, it's down on Monterey Road before you get to the Denny's. And they started doing the construction in 1985 of the Transit Mall, and it was storefront to storefront. It wasn't just in the street. And we were in a historic building, we had a basement, and literally our customers had to walk a wooden plank to get to the front door, and then, you know, it epically went sideways on them. The director of public works was fired, and they were bribing inspectors, and the project went 3 years, about a year and a half longer than it was expected, and way over budget. And the redevelopment agency was trying to do the promotions downtown, and wasn't going so well for them. And Susan Hammer was downtown council person at the time, and Susan is really the one that deserves a lot of credit, because having a business right on the Transit Mall, I was able to walk down and get half of our rent paid by the redevelopment agency. So that kind of got to know us a little bit. And then some of you will remember the Greater San Jose Business Association, Ernie Gray and Dennis Hooker and McHenry. McHenry was the mayor at the time, and you know Tom always had a quip. He said the smaller their organization got, the longer their name got. And they, at the old chamber building where the Fairmont Annex, now Hilton Signia, now is, they ambushed Susan. So at the time, Councilmember Hammer went there, and they had TV cameras, and they jumped on Susan. And we did not want to see Susan Hammer mad. Susan went into McHenry and said, "You're going to do something about it." McHenry called Frank Taylor in and said, "You're going to do something about it." And redevelopment ended up giving seed money if we would start a business improvement district, which we did. After I was hired, we have had it up and running since 1989. We've added a property business improvement district in 2008. We still have contract funding with the city, with DTA, and then we generate our own earned income from sponsorships, concessions, and events. So long answer to how we're funded.
Well, let's talk a little bit about you personally. You know, you were born in the South, Memphis, Tennessee, and I detect a slight Southern accent at times when you're speaking.
Well, I got rid of that in 6th grade when we moved to Washington, D.C.
And you moved all over the country as a child of a Navy pilot serving in Vietnam, including a few years living in Guantanamo Bay. I've not seen that in a resume before. Your family settled in Walnut Creek, and you enrolled at San Jose State to study journalism, and found competitive success, which I mentioned earlier, at the collegiate level in the sport of fencing. So what drove you to both journalism and fencing, a unique combination to be sure, and how have these two disciplines contributed to your evolution in your leadership of the Downtown Association?
Great question. I will mention Gitmo at first. So I was in kindergarten, 1st grade, and I remember as a little kid when the island was surrounded and cut off, and the Cubans cut off the water supply. So as a kid, we didn't have to take baths, and we got to drink Coke. And I had no idea of all the stress that my dad and all the parents were under at the time. So I was very young when we were in Guantanamo Bay. Haven't been there recently, just wanted to clarify that. So I already mentioned that the business I had founded in downtown originally in the old Mercury News building on Notre Dame Street where Access stands. It had been the Merc, then it was Field Business College, and then it was like a furniture auction place. And the owner of the furniture auction place, both of his daughters were in private school, Philbrook School in Los Gatos. They were teaching them fencing lessons. He goes, "I got a building, you can have it for a club." So we went in there, and that's how the fencing center started in 1982. Then we moved to First Street. Jim D'Amico, a great Rotarian here, tire service, on First Street. He knew the Collection Bureau of San Jose, the ballet building, the Fry Zone, the building now, ironically, right next door to the association offices here. And then the fencing center moved there in 1983. So I was there while the Transit Mall construction started. And I used to be a good fencer. I went to the NCAAs representing San Jose State, go Spartans. I'm a former Western Intercollegiate and Pacific Coast Sabre champion. And fencing is for really competitive people who like a combat sport, because to score, you have to hit your opponent before they hit you. So it's not for everybody. It's not, there's a physical, certainly a physical invasion of your space that happens. But what really intrigued me, I was a jock, I played varsity baseball in high school. I craved sports. And what I found in fencing was this great physical and mental aspect, which certainly transferable to business career. Journalism, however, is even more applicable, especially when you're representing a very diverse base, or you have a diverse clientele or customers that you're serving. It really helps to know how to communicate. You can say a lot of things that people have about the association over the last 34 years, but one thing that we seldom hear is you haven't communicated with us, because we've been able to put the type of material out, recently more so on social, but we're still doing a newsletter. We're on our 35th volume. That's for how many years we've been publishing this. So we try to let our members know how their assessment dollars are being spent, and that really helps keep the uprisings down.
I know. I have a question about that a little bit later, but while you were at San Jose State, from 1978 to 1980, you were a reporter for the Spartan Daily. And here's something that I didn't know. That was the first daily newspaper published by a California State college. Go Spartans, huh? After graduation, you went to New Mexico for a short time. You worked as a reporter and a photographer for the Las Vegas Optics. You've been described by as both a visual and written storyteller at heart. So, okay, Mr. Reporter, give us the headline and tell us the story of San Jose and downtown and what you saw in the beginning and what kept you in this role for so many years.
Well, I came here to go to school. I came to San Jose State specifically to study journalism. So I'm part of, there's a handful of us left in the field of those idealistic young men and women who graduated exactly 4 years after Watergate, the fall of Saigon, really kind of the peak of investigative journalism and the power of the Fourth Estate. My, how it has fallen. I look at, the Mercury News stripped of San Jose in its name, owned by a vulture hedge fund group, Alden Capital, that decimated the newsroom, that sold off the Ritter Park assets, and have left us with a paper that's got as much East Bay and Contra Costa News as South Bay News. And I really am just part of that group that believe, reading Seymour Hersh in the New York Times, writing about the problems that government was making for the people in that watchdog role. And that's really the origins of the San Jose Downtown Association. The mythology was, this is the 80s, we used to do sidewalk sales. And so we planned a sidewalk sale, and we came to work, and our sidewalks were gone. We said, we better organize. And Dan Polcano and Ray Rodriguez walked around collecting $35 dues from folks on First Street. And we, this is before construction mitigation was a word in redevelopment's mouth. And we needed to protect the downtown from the folks who were there to help us. And they were going to reshape downtown, with some incredible assets that redevelopment had. And let's face it, the downtown sucked pretty bad. It had just come out of decades of really the public sector moving away from the center city concept, expanding out instead of in, moving City Hall out of downtown, the MRF moved out of downtown, and really abandoning the city center. And so when redevelopment started, you had to complete a freeway, the museums, the parks. I mean, all the infrastructure that we all enjoy in the cities around the world and the nation that we love, we're really missing in a large part in here. And I guess the real reason I stayed, because I've been headhunted to go run other cities, other downtown associations in other cities, but the canvas of downtown San Jose, maybe sadly after 34 years, still remains. There's still a lot of room to paint on it. And I felt that we can make a bigger impact with what we are doing here than any other city.
You talked about the physical part of fencing. You also referred to a lot about the spiritual part of the competition of fencing. You also shared with me and gave me permission today to speak about your anonymity about another very personal spiritual practice. 25 years of sobriety that you attributed to your participation in Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank you for allowing me to finally expose that, I guess, but I'm very encouraged by the fact that you've done what you've done over 25 years. So how has the spiritual path of sobriety shaped your perspective and served you personally and professionally?
It's so important for everything. And I do want to say that, my Rotary family, I was very powerfully moved over the years when we would have personals and members of our club would get up and talk about their journey in sobriety. And I think we all can remember a couple of those meetings that we've had. And I can say that those who know me, not bashful about breaking my anonymity, but it really is about a design for living that allows you to be who you really are. And whether that's if there's anybody on Zoom or in the room today that might be struggling, please contact me. I can carry the message.
You often highlight businesses and their owners and attribute growth and success in San Jose to individuals and organizations not associated necessarily with the Downtown Association. So are there any mentors that you'd like to mention that helped guide you and influence you during the last 34 years?
Yeah, my fencing master, Michael DeSaro, his past was extremely instrumental in helping shape what we called back in the days. This is you remember the kind of the trends we go through. Mind training is what it was called there. The spiritual journey is more current, what you were just describing. I'll say Dan McFadden was the deputy under Frank Taylor, and he was sitting in the little redevelopment office, and he made all of us who were getting half of our rent. We got, if you happen to have a business, you've been there, I think, for 4 years, like a fencing center, we got half of our rent paid. We got subsidy. And McFadden would make us come into his office like an old Chicago boss. It's like, here's your check, man, and be able to check in with you and talk. And that's actually how I got to know about the Alum Rock Business Association job. I had my second son, and the fencing was wasn't making a lot of money giving fencing lessons, and so went to Alum Rock Business Association kind of as the San Jose Downtown Association was getting that first payment from redevelopment that the city council passed at the end of '87, and then they searched for the executive director, and it just had my name all over.
Let me say something personally and try to link that to the Downtown Association. For so many years, San Jose has not been embraced by other cities in the region as the major metropolitan city in this urban area we're in, like Seattle to the Pacific Northwest or San Francisco to the Bay Area. I'm even told that one city in Santa Clara County was incorporated for the purpose of avoiding annexation to San Jose. Why do you think that is, or was, and what can San Jose do to change that?
But I don't know about that, the city, that didn't want to be associated with us. I'm glad I live in San Jose and not Campbell. San Jose has to be who we really are. And it seems at the beginning of the career, I never thought capital of Silicon Valley was an authentic representation of who San Jose was. It was some marketing person working for the redevelopment agency put that on a letterhead, and we made some manhole covers that say it still in parts of the transit mall. And the reality of San Jose is the public sector spread us one molecule thick. They intentionally decimated the downtown core with a lot of failed policies, and we bought in to urban removal in the 70s. We razzed whole blocks of historic buildings downtown, between 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th Street, between San Carlos and Santa Clara. We just leveled because it was going to be easier with development to come down on a blank canvas, which failed in Detroit, failed in many American cities. And for downtown to work, because we don't have density, because we have history, but it's fragmented, it's episodic. But for us to really be clicking, and I can say that we really thought this is going to be the roaring 20s for downtown before the pandemic hit. It seemed like we had the students, we had convention visitors. We don't really have tourists. We have business travelers and convention business. We have some residents. We need a lot more. The employees were down here, and we had people coming down for entertainment, whether it's the Sharks or concerts and plays and such. And for downtown to really be jumping, we need all of those sectors to be going at the same time. And obviously with the pandemic, we've just been crushed. We don't have people coming back to work. And let me tell you, Larry, they're not coming back to work. Not the way they used to. The genie's out of the bottle, and we're going to have a very different way that people are going to be occupying the space. We're still building new space, and that's being thoughtful in the way that people are going to work in the future. We need a lot more residences. That's happening. We haven't had the hotel and convention business come back yet. And where that translates, and just walk a block. You can see the boarded up buildings. You can see the headlines, a new retailer closing every week. It's the storefronts and the things that we most love about our city that are impacted by that. We all say we love the small businesses, funky things you can't get anywhere else, and then go on Amazon Prime or to the mall. So if I had one request, it's like, go to Dine Downtown. Starts tomorrow for 10 days. Look at one of those businesses. There's a number that have opened that I haven't even gone to yet. They just opened last week. Go to someplace you've never been before and tip generously.
All right. Well, that's a great lead to my next question, and that is the history of downtown San Jose seems to be one of continual disruption of the physical environment. And we're looking ahead and reading about BART coming downtown to the Diridon station, which to me implies more disruption in physical disruption of the downtown area. So tell us how the future leads into the past in terms of walking a plank to get to your office, for example.
I mean, this is in our DNA. So watching out for the construction zone and making the city still vibrant while it's changing and growing. And isn't that the only constant in all of our lives? Is in a city is a living organism. It's never do plant a flag and say, San Jose is alive. It's there. We're going to have these milestones, and we thought we were at one right before the pandemic hit. But let me tell you, we have got a number of very big entitled projects that are putting shovels into the ground. You are aware of Google's approval. We have some council members here that helped get that over the finish line. They are doing the infrastructure work as we talk. That's the first thing, put some pipes in the ground. So that's going to transform 80 acres on the west side of downtown. And for our organization, what we're really interested in is how do you connect the core to downtown west. They've got, basically a blank canvas over there to build. We are working at filling in the gaps. Jay Paul is doing that. Urban Catalyst, Urban Community, West Bank, Boston Properties, Hines Properties bought the pavilion. I'm so pleased to tell you that one of my biggest regrets, by the way, was when the Downtown Association didn't say anything when we turned the pavilion shops into a web farm. And now, all these years later, the web farm lease expires in November, and Hines is going to renovate instead of tear down that property. It's going to be beautiful. So the city isn't a disposable asset. It's going to keep changing. Some buildings are going to get demoed, some are going to get rehabbed, there's going to be new construction. And how we move through all of that is, as a community, and how it reflects us as a community is what's going to help define San Jose. Any city that we know and love, we end up in the city center for a reason. It's where all the amenities are, the museums, the plays, the nightclubs, the culture that we're seeking out. And the same thing here for downtown. It is everyone's neighborhood in San Jose. And we're so fortunate to have a city council that really understands that and helps contribute. They're not just going to leave it on the D3 councilmen. They're going to work collectively, and we have to, because it's hard work, especially anticipating your next question, where we are with the safety in the homelessness situation.
Not quite my next question, but I believe the most valuable asset in downtown San Jose is not Adobe, but San Jose State University. And while the collaboration and relationship between the university and San Jose has improved in recent years, it's never been particularly close. Do you agree with that? And what can be done to enhance and continue an improving relationship with the university?
I totally disagree with that. I think we've never been closer, starting with President Gail Fullerton, going all the way back to the 70s, where it's like we have to tear down. It's just like what San Jose did to itself. There was, let's build a moat. Let's wall off San Jose State at 4th Street from the downtown because there was no there. And President Correct, man, that dude brought the Metropolitan University concept to the campus. And the greatest project, in my opinion, of the redevelopment era was created with Bob Correct and Mayor Hammer, which is the joint city university library.
Yeah, very.
And
I agree.
I would say today, with the university coming off campus, doing the lease with the city for the Hammer Theater, looking to develop the Alquist building and to create faculty and staff housing there, and maybe some graduate student housing there. The future has never looked brighter for collaborations, the town and gown relationship.
To be a major metropolitan city, you need many things. A world-class airport and convention center, and we've improved both dramatically in recent years. You need the arts, the symphony, the opera, professional sports like the Sharks and the Earthquakes. But the San Jose Cleveland Ballet failed. We failed to bring the A's and Major League Baseball to San Jose. We lost the Civic Light Opera several years ago. The joint agreement between the San Jose Museum of Art and the Whitney in New York petered out. So what can be done to truly make the 10th largest city of America a regional icon and a home worthy of world-class organizations and experiences that is recognized region-wide?
Well, that's, it takes resources, for our arts. I don't want to speak for our arts community, but that is what makes the city unique and helps put us on the map, is how we express ourselves. So you have to do that, whether it's performing arts, visual arts, dance, it's all good. And we don't have a lot of endowments. We don't have a lot of wealth in our arts groups to be able to do the work. Our opera, and look at what Irene Dallas did. The opera is still, it's a training. We are helping create future stars for the bigger companies. In many ways, that's what nonprofits of second tier cities do. Is they create folks that are successful and they can move on. What we need to do is retain that talent.
I thought you wanted if not, or you want me to just come by.
San Francisco, with Oakland, with Berkeley, with Santa Cruz, we have all these incredible
or do you want me to come by afterwards, or
just a short drive away. So is that really San Jose's aspiration to move to be that first tier? I don't think population.
I thought you were.
It's those aspects of quality, of heart, in keeping people like
I
myself. I'm not looking to move. I'm stepping down from the Downtown Association because it's the right time. A number of the younglings have told me, Boomer, you've had enough power, get the hell out of the way. And make some room here for this next generation who is just so inspired. We heard our Grand High. That's really the future. So how can we help that and let that generation move San Jose to the next level?
Thank God, because I have a stake in you staying around here. My deputy assessor is your wife.
Well, I introduced it as her husband.
All right. During your tenure, and you mentioned it earlier, that you've published monthly a newsletter, 34 years, called The Downtown Dimension. So is there any moment in time,
right, which is right next door,
in the archives or not,
right next door,
that what happened during your 34 years forever changed the trajectory of
might take a couple hours, so. Yeah, it's something I need to look for.
I would say, and I kind of hinted at the awakening. The association moved from primary to Frank Taylor.
Anyway, I'm not sure.
Director wanted us to just stay in our lane as a marketing events promotion. Didn't want us to step out of that.
Right.
Decisions that I didn't think were in the best interest.
Yeah, because I don't know.
Beautiful John Jurdy design, pavilion, and then closing it and putting servers instead of units. And then as we started getting, as I started getting a little bit more of a wise guy attitude, we started to express ourselves. I would
and then
say
take it home, I guess, and then I can come by later or something. But
was 2007 to 2011. When Rob Davis was and he took community policing back decades.
But she's going to.
And this was when we had phalanx of police officers shutting downtown. And I used to say to the chief, you treat everybody like fools, only the fools are going to start showing up. And then, back when Mercury News was an honorable paper, Sean Redden did a number of articles about the attitude arrests, resisting arrests, drunken public. And it was revealed that we were arrested.
I don't know how long. And then if you want me to come over later, I can. But
attitude arrests in LA. which, as we know.
Somebody call Karen and tell her to mute herself.
And, it took us a long time to recover as a welcoming, diverse community, and we've seen this nationwide with this change that has been long overdue coming, maybe peaked hopefully with what happened with George Floyd, and now that we have a true understanding of what community policing is. That's going to go a long way to making San Jose safe and safer.
One final question before I get the hook from Sal. We talked a lot about successes and losses and so forth. I'd just like to give you the opportunity to sum up this. I mean, I consider you an icon to downtown San Jose, and that's why I wanted to interview you best at the time you're leaving, I guess. So sum it up for us. 34 years.
Well, I don't know about icon. I know, Larry, you always liked coming to our year-end review slideshow because I usually show all the new development, and he's taking notes and assess them. Got to send them a bill, didn't know about that. And then he started making me show it to his assessor's office too, to make sure they caught them all. And, you know, why do you, I mean, congratulations on your reelection last month. I mean, why did Steve Borkenhagen, Dan Tulcrano, Chuck Hammers, Phil Maresca, Carl Salas, there's a number of people here that have been around 34, 35 years or longer, and are still here in this city. You have to have passion for it. You have to love what you're doing. It's a cliche to say, you know, it's different every day. I was all ready for the homeless question, but I didn't get it. So I guess I'll talk about that at my podcast with Spotlight there coming up. But we've got some challenges. It is fragile. What we're building in this city cannot be taken for granted. Certainly nobody in this room needs to be told that. You know, Rotary understands the value set that it takes. But I tell you, if you're out there talking to the business community, particularly the storefronts, there's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of uncertainty with how they're going to make the rent. With a lot of the young people, they can't see themselves yet in the future of the city. So this is a time more than ever for us to help.
Thank you, Scott Knies.
Well, thank you both. Thank you both. I wish we'd had time for questions because I think some people had some. Scott, I hope you'll stick around for a few minutes. For those of you who do have some questions for Scott, he'll be here and available. But thank you for 34 years at the Downtown Association, and thank you, Larry, for doing another great job. A contribution has made on your behalf to the San Jose Jazz Aid Fund, which is helping keep musicians here in San Jose. And we're going to take a little photo together afterwards. But next week, we're all wrapped up with this week, but next week, our speaker will be Michael Ogilvie from the city of San Jose, talking about public art in the city. So we are going to keep the good times rolling. And if those of you, you saw today in the Mercury News, which isn't entirely as horrible as Scott has made it out to be, we had a nice review of City Lights Theater's Fun Home today, and we're going to have a performance from Fun Home here next week. So please, let's keep the good times rolling. I'll see you next week.